Ball peens and rivets. Grip it firmly by the base. Frame up for a devastating strike. And that's a nail, that's a nail, that's a nail. Everything I see is a nail.
Because it's time to pound the hell out of Tull with me.
Welcome back, I am Omen Thomas Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we are Feckless Momes.
And this, my sweet, sweet hardware aisle, is Talk Tull to me.
8 solid pounds of iron hanging in the prog rock workshop, in which Nickel Cadmium Nick and 16-ounce Omen will take a swing at every single duplex-headed track that railroad spike rock band Jethro Tull have ever driven through the hardware of our brains. We will swing the Scott Hammond splitting maul, call order with the David Goodyear gavel, and power up the Joe Parrish James jackhammer. And if we swing straight and true, we may one day be worthy enough to wield the Scottish scrutch, the prancing planister, the dead blow dervish, the tack hammer tartan. Ian, bend me over and bash me on the head, Anderson.
Have you ever used a jackhammer in your life?
I thought you were going to ask if I've ever used a hammer in my life. The answer is no to both.
Yeah.
No, I've used a number of handheld hammers. I've never used a jackhammer. I assume you have?
Oh, it's the worst. It is one of the worst tools out there.
Because it
is hundreds of pounds, so you have to wrestle with it, and it's also hitting up and down and insanely loud.
That's hundreds of pounds more than me.
Correct. You're 47 years old.
Years old.
Also 13 pounds.
I wish. Well, Nick.
Omen.
Here we are, and we're going to talk about some Jethro Tull today. Nick, what is the song about which we are talking Tull on this very fine summer's day, very close to the solstice?
That we are. It is Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Cheers to all of our black listeners.
L'chaim. What are we talking about? Oh, yes. Using context clues, I've determined that we are talking about If I Had a Hammer. No. Old John Henry. No. It's Hammer on Hammer.
House of Hammers.
House of Hammers. Is that a song?
No, it's a place in Milan where you can get a lot of different types of hammers. We are talking about Hammer on Hammer. Nick, shall we have a listen?
Omen say.
That was Hammer on Hammer.
Sure was.
First impressions, what did you first think of when you heard that song? That was one of the very first singles that came out.
It was our second signal after...
Our second signal.
I always say signal, don't I?
Well, it's not completely inappropriate.
It's not like saying second avocado. It was our second single following Gununga Gap.
Second single that we heard, and what was your first thought when you heard it?
Heavy. Liked it. They definitely released a lot of those singles that were like, we're returning back to our heavy rocking roots.
Yes.
Saved some of the lighter stuff for after the fact, which isn't a bad thing. It was, I think Vlad the Bad was like the first thing that really jumped out, given the context, obviously, or the present times. But rocking, solid, great guitar.
Oh my God.
I think those are the first real, and that falsetto. Hard to not pay attention to that falsetto.
Yeah. The thing that jumped out to me was, and when we first heard it, we really first heard it in the context of the music video that dropped.
Yes.
Which has got all of those amazing images. I love the style of the music videos for these tracks. They're kind of like, they're living in between hand-drawn animation, computer animation, kind of, what's the thing where you cut out, you paste it, the Dadaists loved it. Collage.
Oh, that, yeah.
It's got a collage quality to it.
Yep.
And there's a lot of imagery of modern jets and tanks and Russian military stuff. So and we'll talk, unfortunately, a little bit later about Putin on the Ritz.
Um,
When the borscht is very cold and you don't have food to feed your people.
Bomb Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, it was, if there was any confusion just listening to the song itself and the lyrics, the video, like, sealed it.
And if there was any confusion with the video, Ian then released his statement on the rock flute track outlines, which may I read? You always get to read it.
Please do.
Ian writes, hammer on hammer, Thor, son of Odin and defender of the fortress Asgard, the archetypal thunder god, wears powerful symbolic belt and wields a hammer. A loyal, honorable warrior. Mortal enemy, nemesis, Jormungand is the sea serpent. They kill each other during Ragnarok at the end of days, Armageddon of the Norse beliefs. Lyric reference, White Nights, St. Petersburg Music Festival. In 1992, Ian Anderson and Martin Barr appeared. Ian met the then mayor, Anatoly Sobchak,
close,
and his not too trustworthy lieutenant, one Vladimirovich Putin.
Do you know what that is, the Vladimirovich?
Little bitch Vladimir.
Close. It's the patronym. It's son of Vlad.
Oh. Vladimir, son of Vladimir.
Yeah. Yeah, 1993. So just real quick, the White Nights Festival, the White Nights St. Petersburg Music Festival. It's an annual summer festival in St. Petersburg. Surprise. Celebrating its near midnight sun phenomena due to its location near the Arctic Circle. Each year between around April 22nd and August 21st, the skies only reach twilight and never reach complete darkness.
Wow.
Organized by the St. Petersburg City Administration, the festival begins on June 11th with the Stars of the White Nights at Mariinsky Theater and ends on July 1st, so nearly a month.
That's actually really interesting. There's a summer festival in Paris called Nuit Blanche, which is White Night.
Oh.
Or White Nights. It's a music festival as well. And so they do there's a lot of like music in the streets and everything. I wonder if that was actually inspired by the St. Petersburg Festival.
Is it the same time? Same time frame?
It's in the spring or summer.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, yeah, between April and August, that's quite a... I think it's in late spring.
Okay. Pretty close.
That's really cool.
A final note, no White Nights Festival has been held since 2020. What an interesting date there. Rook turned 3.
That's why.
In 2020.
Yeah. And we're like, we're done.
We can't.
We got more important things to focus on.
That's it. It's gotta be it.
Let's talk about the music.
Yes. Let us talk about the 5th track off of the album, Hammer on Hammer.
It is in 4/4 time.
It is...
I don't know why that surprises me.
It was intended to be... Is that sarcasm that it surprises you?
No, I'm always prepping myself when I listen to Jethro Tull with a critical ear for it to be in some kind of compound time signature. And so it always surprises me a little bit when it's in a straight 4.
Are we not more likely... I mean, I know it's not like hard and fast rule, but aren't we more likely to see it on a radio single? Theoretically.
Maybe, I guess so. And I guess I didn't think of this as a radio single in that respect. That's not something that I thought about. But yeah, I suppose it's possible.
Did they try for radio singles? Maybe.
I have no idea.
Oh, I know that they did for... Was it Ganunga Gap or Navigators? One of them has the radio edit versus the regular version.
Oh,
so one of them, I mean, they tended at least one or two of them to be on the radio. Technically, I don't know who would have played it, but...
I find it interesting how we have the flute at the very beginning. And then it drops pretty much out until the break. that role really is taken over by Joe Parrish James, who I am obsessed with in this song. He's serving us Santana, like 90s Santana vibes.
I get it.
But what are we now?
Stage must be set for mortal battle. All the prophecy.
Santana, if he reined in a little bit.
If Santana had the flu and like
And he had to work through
could barely get out of bed,
Yep.
that's what he would have sounded like.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I love it. I think it sounds fabulous.
Yeah, he's so good. He's so very good.
He comes in really strong, really clear, really bold, really confident. It's delightful.
Yeah, this is, I think it was last episode we were talking, at least I was talking about how like, he's been really fairly subdued this album. Every now and then he'll come forward, but none of the tracks are really audibly on the back of the guitar. This one, still not audibly on the back, but we hear him more. We hear more stings. We hear more crunchy personality from him, as opposed to like, oh, there he is. Oh, no, he's gone. Oh, wait, oh, yeah.
I think
that might have been a guitar. I don't know.
I think it's a difficult line to walk to be the guitarist for Jethro Tull because you have to be guitarists. There's a lot of personality jokes that come along with musicians, right?
Sure.
And they're all based in facts and trends. You know, like
stereotyping.
Yeah, you know the joke, what does a violinist use for contraception?
Their
personality.
Oh.
You know, trumpet players are typically very, like, full of themselves.
Drummers are dumb.
Drummers are idiots.
Bassists are quiet? Is that really the...
Bassists are quiet, right. You know, there's all these stereotypes. Electric guitarists have a reputation for being really like full of themselves and all they want to do is just shred on the guitars.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah.
In order to be a guitarist, a rock guitarist, but also a musician in the sense of like being part of an ensemble.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Is a rarer thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, the bass, let's talk about the bass.
Let us talk about the bass. Is there bass in this song?
Yes. Confirmed that there is bass. And what the bass is doing is very interesting because it feels to me like for a lot of it, the bass is playing harmony. Instead of, for some places it's going D, D, beep, 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 whatever the melody is.
Stage must be set for mortal battle.
But sometimes it's going beep, 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 beep. It's doing a third underneath.
While serpents silently waiting.
You know, obviously down the octave, but
yeah,
it's interesting how it's kind of not where I would quite expect it. And it's just an interesting choice that I observed and liked.
Musically, this song's very solid. I mean, good drums, good guitar. Synth. Oh, there's really great synth.
Beautiful synth. Beautiful synth.
Very, very kind of flows along on underneath on the background, except for there are times when the guitar will do a call and response with the synth.
Yes.
With those like bright stings. Very fun.
Yeah, we have the riff that I think Joe Parrish James starts, which is the
yeah.
And we have the synth picking that up, and it's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. It's very fun. It's very, very fun.
And in this song, Joe Parrish James does more shredding than we've heard from a Jethro Tull guitarist in a very long time.
Yep.
And by shredding, I mean that kind of like letting loose, like, oh, I'm just like feeling my guitar.
Just a quick, sharp phrase that's doesn't feel like it's written down in the notes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It feels like he lets loose, he improvises for a minute, and he gets into the danger zone of like, oh my god, frickin' guitarist.
Yeah.
And then right there, he pulls it back into the composition. It's great. It's so great.
Reins himself in. Yeah. That's very Martin, really. I mean,
that's something that Martin is very good at.
Yeah.
Is walking that line.
Yeah.
And letting loose when he wants and being really strict and really conscientious.
Yes, aware of the greater piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we I think it was the very first Jethro Tull concert that we saw. I don't remember who the opener was, but it was some old as dirt rock band who was not very well known. And the lead singer, or the lead of it, was, this white-haired dude who looked like a cowboy.
It was Eddie Money.
Eddie Money,
It was
yes.
Eddie Money, yep.
Okay.
In Odessa, New York in
2001, probably.
2001, yeah. Jesus, I remember. I have the...
Oh, Nick's going into the museum.
Yep, Jethro Tull. No, it's Edgar Winter. Sorry, not Eddie Money.
Edgar Winter, right, okay.
2003, 8/15/2003. We'd already graduated high school.
Okay, so Edgar Winter. Well, and I remember we made the joke that he looked like Old Man Winter.
Yes, I mean, he's very aptly named. He and his brother are albinos, I believe. Albino. Inflicted with albinism? I'm not sure what the term is now. I don't think inflicted is definitely the term.
But he had recently hired, or it seemed, my interpretation was that he had recently hired a young hotshot guitarist. And I remember being so annoyed because they were doing the song and then they'd be like, "Play it, Jimmy." And Jimmy, who looked like he was 17 and like stepped forward and he was just like for like 6 minutes straight. And I was like, is he gonna do anything else?
I think I fell asleep. That's why I don't remember.
It was so shreddy. It was like, look how fast I can play. Oh my God.
Some people eat that stuff up on a cracker. They love that kind of stuff.
You know who? Other guitarists. People who wish that they were guitarists.
Yeah, valid,
it's like,
valid.
I get the impression of like when a young man is making love to his lover.
Frantically,
It's like, yeah,
I can do it. I can do it.
doing it so much. And their partner's like, yes, sweetie. Oh my
You
God.
are.
Wow. You're
Great.
so good at this. I'm going to go to the bathroom for 5 minutes.
Making a milkshake. Is that what that noise was?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It feels very self-fulfilling.
Yes.
So that's it. It's self-fulfilling, and that's what I don't like about a lot of electric guitars.
Self-fulfilling? Flagellating?
It's very selfies. Involved. Self-fulfilling. It's fulfilling yourself rather than the music, rather than the
I don't
song.
think that's what self-fulfilling means. Like self-fulfilling prophecy?
That's what it means in that context. Words in different contexts.
No.
Fun fact.
Nope.
Can mean different things,
Nope.
especially in English. Anyway, Joe Parrish James is a very giving, sensitive, in tune.
A gentle lover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, let's breathe at the same time. Oh my God.
Joe, taking it to new heights. I haven't felt this since Martin in 2003.
Yeah.
We don't talk about Martin.
That's really all I have to say about the music. I love it. I think it's great. It's
a good one.
It's driving, but it's a fairly slow tempo, but it really kicks you along.
Yeah, I do like it a lot. Generally, I'm not a fan of hard music to begin with, but
Yeah,
this
I
is
noticed
good.
by looking through your record collection.
Yeah, let's see. The hardest thing in there.
That's not Tull. You've got a basket
that's
for
not
Tull,
Tull,
and
yeah.
you've got a basket for non-Tull.
The Decemberists, Mike Oldfield, Kishibashi, the infamous String Dusters.
Probably the hardest.
Murder by Death. Murder by Death is pretty hard.
I don't know. I think the infamous String Dusters are a little harder.
No, not Murder by Death they're pretty solid.
I think the hardest thing that I have in my record collection is
The erection I have when I listen to Beethoven.
I was gonna. I have a Mozart's Requiem. That's
There
pretty
it is.
hard. That's pretty hard.
That slaps.
Got some Mahler. No one is harder than Mahler.
Halfway, here we are.
Hey, everybody.
Folks, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a jumpstart. That came in the middle of recording the last episode, so I will jump right into our jumpstart. From Jimmy James. Jimmy James writes back in.
JJ.
Message. Hi, Omen and Nick. Although I haven't annoyed you recently, I'm still here, tuning in every week and loving your analysis and banter. Zealot and Rock Flute still haven't quite done it for me, but that's not your fault. 2 new, all original works is a phenomenal achievement by any measure, let alone by someone old enough to have seen these Old Testament stories firsthand. It was the Betrayal of Joshua Kind episode that urged me to get on the keyboard. You referenced people would have you done, locked him in his golden cage from my God. It was 1971. Omen and Nick weren't even a twinkle in an eye when in a caravan on the south coast of New South Wales, down under, my friend's big brother pulled his latest vinyl from its plastic sleeve and said, "Listen to this, it will blow you away."
The friend's older brother. There's got to be, in mythology, the archetype of the friend's older brother, like the older brother, the vinyl bringer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's always, listen to this, it'll blow your mind.
Yeah. Hey,
Always.
kid, you want to listen to some Jethro Tull?
Just a very big trench coat with vinyls in it. Teacher's Wage for the first time in my life, and remember vividly when each new title appeared in the local record store. Songs from the Wood, then Heavy Horses, then Stormwatch, the Folk Trinity, another high point in their stellar career.
Imagine buying those records new.
Oh. It is a thrill to see young bucks like you guys sharing my obsession in doing what you do. I love it. How anyone could fail to recognize the genius of Tull is beyond me. Their loss, I say. Thanks again for your weekly dose of Tull. I'm looking forward to Roots to Branches, the highlight of their latter years, in my humble opinion. Onward, Nick and Omen, Jimmy James.
Jimmy James, thank you so much for sharing your jumpstart with us. Wow, what a picture you painted in the surfing van on the south coast of Australia. And it's funny, people, I sometimes think of, like, oh, vinyl isn't a convenient
I was literally
form
just thinking that.
because it's so big and whatever. You can listen to it in a van on the beach.
It's got to be a van, though, obviously. And you can't be driving.
But you could, though. I mean, you could have it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. A van in 1971 would not have a smooth enough ride. A van now would not have a smooth enough ride.
Yeah. But amazing, it must have been one of those suitcase turntables.
Yeah, Victrola, was that the suitcase ones? I don't know.
I think different companies made them, but that's what I listened to this last summer when I was in Santa Fe. I had a little plug-in suitcase. I think it may have been a Victrola.
Yeah.
That was real, from the 90s probably, and I found it in their closet, and I acquired way too much vinyl that summer. But yeah, that's awesome. What a cool jump start, and thank you so much for taking us there with you, and thank you for staying with us as we work through this amazing catalog.
Yeah, the one thing that stuck out for me is the use of the phrase "a teacher's wage," which you make it sound like it's a livable wage, which
in 1977 it probably was in Australia.
I'm curious to know how it translates to present day United States.
In 1977 in America, it was probably a living wage.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
The thing is that wage has stayed the same, and inflation and the cost of living has gone up.
Yeah.
So a teacher's wage here in the States now is, practically a starvation wage. Ooh, anyway, thank you, Jimmy James.
Thank you, Jimmy James. Greatly appreciated. Thank you for writing in. Anyone else, please, we beseech you, give us those jump starts. We greatly appreciate those stories. Very fascinating. Love to hear it. Was it your dad's vinyl collection? Was it your big brother? Was it your big brother's best friend?
Was it your lesbian younger sister's vinyl collection?
Any gender and relation could be it. Did you see a bright orange cassette of War Child and say, "What is that?" and put it on, and then your face was melted?
Did a beautiful but aloof pianist burn a track of Tull onto a "I Like You Just as a Friend" CD mix?
Could have been anyone. Really broad strokes on that one, Omen.
That was how I got introduced to Tull.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Here we are, the other side of halfway, Omen Sade. Let's
halfway Omen Sade.
Oh, it's good old Omen halfway Sade. We are talking about Hammer on Hammer. It is about Thor, as Ian has said. Thor is the thunder god, the lightning god. In Norse mythology, he wields Mjolnir, the hammer.
Yes.
He wears the belt that doubles his strength. I've actually just started reading the...
I thought you were going to say, I've actually just started wearing a belt to see if it would double my strength.
Hasn't worked yet.
So far, no, but...
That's why I went to the suspenders. I started reading the Neil Gaiman Norse mythology, and he points out that Thor, despite what Marvel has shown us, Thor is the nephew of Loki, not the brother. He is red-haired and he's dumb as a stump.
Yeah. Yeah, and, great that he has representation in the Marvel universe, even if it's not, I've sort of changed my stance. I used to think like, oh my God, how dare you not accurately, with 100% accuracy, represent something. But that's what happens with mythology.
Yeah.
That's why Freya has 16 different names, because they adapted her through oral tradition. Thor is derived, I'm totally just reading off of your notes, from a word that means thunder. Also, interesting that the note about the belt. I wonder if if that notion of the belt comes from the observation of the constellation that we call Orion, where that belt is so prominent.
And also Hercules had a belt too, I believe. I don't think it gave him strength, but like
It kept his pants up.
Oh no, he got it from the Amazons, and it was a belt of strength, I believe.
And in Roman mythology, that constellation is Hercules. So I think that it is just a constellation that people say, belt guy.
Hey, look, it's belt guy. Some more references from what Ian was talking about in description. Son of Odin is and defender of the fortress of Asgard. Asgard is the dwelling place of the gods, comparable to Mount Olympus.
Of the Asir gods.
Yep. Oh yeah, the violent ones, the fighters.
Yeah. And in a warrior society, that would have been, the ones you wanted on your side.
You've got Thor there, you've got Balder, all the fighty ones. Asgard could be reached by the Bifrost from Earth, the Rainbow Bridge. Jormungand, Thor's absolute baddie, is the Midgard serpent. He dwells in the world sea, not the world tree.
And I believe in Ragnarok, the kind of sequence of events is that Jormungand bites Thor and gives him a deadly dose of world serpent venom. And as Thor is dying, he strikes the death blow to Jormungand.
That sounds dramatically accurate.
Much like the end of Hamlet.
Not a joke at all, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jormungand is also the middle child of Loki and Boda, who had Jormungand, Fenrir, who we'll talk about next week, and the goddess Hel, who is the head goddess of
the underworld.
Hel. Yeah, the underworld named after her.
From which we in English get
Hell.
The concept of hell, or the word for hell.
Yeah.
Although the concept is a very different situation.
Yeah.
So, Nick, I am so interested because the white section is directly from the poetry text.
Well, not directly, but like Ian's extrapolation.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about these references to Jupiter and Saturn. The fact that Ian is, in his interpretation of the Norse text, referencing two Roman gods. Jupiter, of course, Jupiter is Jove, so that would be in Greek.
Zeus.
That would be Zeus.
Who is the lightning god, technically, but Zeus and Odin also have a lot of similarity, too.
Right, and then Saturn is...
the god of war, I think? Also fits actually fairly well. Time, generation, disillusion, abundance.
Oh, so Jupiter is the child of Saturn. Greek equivalent, Kronos. That's what I was... Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So in that case, Saturn would be more in the position of things, the Odin equivalent.
Yes.
And Jupiter would be more the Thor equivalent, even though the roles don't really match up exactly.
Yeah, there is a bit of a wiggle room.
But they're archetypal.
Yeah.
But Saturn does have a belt.
Yes, Jupiter does not. Yes, Saturn has a belt. So we're talking about belts. We're talking about these figures who are war, these figures who are about violence.
Was there a time when I was Jupiter, ringed like Saturn?
Was there a time when I was Jupiter, ringed like Saturn with sacred belt?
So it is making the comparison to Jupiter, a.k.a. Zeus, a.k.a. Thunder God.
Right, yeah.
Anvil sweating under blows, hammer on hammer, cold steel to smelt.
Anvil sweating under blows. Hammer on hammer, cold steel to smelt.
He's not a forge god. You know, he didn't make his own
Who forged?
hammer. I'm assuming it was the Svartalfs. I think.
It was a dwarf named Sindri.
There it is.
While Sindri was creating Mjolnir, Loki, the trickster god, disguised himself as a fly and attempted to interfere with Sindri's work by buzzing around him. As a result, Mjolnir's hammer is unusually short.
Huh.
Isn't that funny?
That's cute.
He just was a bad man.
It's a bit of a dick, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hammer on hammer, I think, refers to the forging of Mjolnir.
Yes. Yeah.
Really interesting reference. Coiled serpent, silently waiting, takes the bait I place beneath.
Coiled serpent silently waiting. Takes the bait I place beneath.
Obviously a reference to Gorgamander.
Jormungandr takes the bait I place beneath the darkened deeps so far from shore, right?
Takes the bait I place beneath. The dark and deep so far from shoreline.
There's a period there, but I mean, that's what he's talking about. Beneath, right? The next line? Yeah.
Interesting. Line cut, dagger to sheath.
Line cut dagger to sheath.
It almost feels like Ian is referencing Loki here. Is he, like, what is this whole deal with baiting the world serpent?
Well, I mean, it's got to be the reference to the fight with Thor and Jormungandr.
One would
Or
imagine.
Jormungand, rather.
Well, because that's where we go with the next verse.
Yeah.
Stage must be set for mortal battle. Mortal battle meaning everybody dies.
Deadly. Yep.
Vulva prophecy fulfilled.
Stage must be set for mortal battle. All the prophecy fulfilled.
The seers, the Vulva who could see into the future.
Yep. The Voluspo.
The
Yep.
Voluspo, who also, from whence we get a lot of these myths. These myths are sort of the retelling of the prophecies.
Yeah. At Ragnarok, gory conclusion, drowning world to raise, rebuild.
At Ragnarok, gory conclusion. Drowning world to raise, rebuild.
Everybody dies at Ragnarok, the end of the world, Armageddon, and then in this belief system, it starts over. We start from scratch.
So this is what's very interesting.
Everyone shut up.
Because now we switch from the white text, which is the historical
Yes.
text, into the modern text. And this is where Ian talks about Vladimir Putin, which is very fascinating because Ian is making a comparison between Thor and Vladimir Putin.
I think Vlad's Jormungand.
That's fascinating. I want to follow this track that I started before you prove me wrong.
Go ahead.
Because there's this line, Vlad the Bad seethes and schemes, an empire past he must renew.
Vlad the Bad sees and schemes, an empire past he must renew.
So this is where I think that Ian is saying that Vladimir Putin sees himself as the defender of Asgard, of Russian Asgard. And that is so much of the propaganda, so much of the narrative that Vladimir Putin is spinning.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that you saw with, I mean, it's a worn out bit, but it's the same thing that we saw with Mussolini. It's the same thing that we see with Trump.
Yeah.
Oh, we must rebuild this glorious empire that we once had. Mussolini said, oh, we must rebuild Rome. We will regain the glory of Rome. Vladimir Putin is saying, we will regain the glory of the Russian Empire. Trump is saying, we will make America great again. It's all the same stuff.
Make Asgard great again. Still MAGA.
Wow. That's something.
I'd wear a Make Asgard great again hat. No,
I don't know. There's something there. That's quite funny. Make Asgard Vanir again.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I think you're well onto something.
And so
there.
I think he's getting into the psychology of like, oh my God, this frickin' mortal thinks he's mother trucking Thor,
Yeah.
which is insane.
Right. Yeah. I mean, certifiably Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump
And Mussolini.
and Mussolini are
Crazy.
and or were insane. I'm not a doctor, but
I'm pretty sure they got a stick up their ass.
yeah.
So, an empire past he must remove. Tough man in waiting stares at me at White Nights 1992.
Tough man in waiting stares at me at White Nights 1992.
This is, oh my gosh, I love this so much. This is the most personal that we get, I think, really in this entire album.
In a very long time.
And it's just that one image.
And it's so specific too. We
So
never
specific.
get that specific.
It's as close to a diss track as we are ever going to get from Ian Anderson.
yes.
And it's great. I love that he's calling out this power-hungry idiot.
Lunatic. Before he even came to power. You know, he's been
Yeah.
there, he's
Yeah.
been embedded like a tick since even before 1992.
And that's where I think the Jormungandr
See, that's,
is appropriate, because he's been lying in wait, building up his venom,
and
biting his own ass.
he leads to Ragnarok.
and he
Toy, please no.
And I love this image of like, because and Vladimir Putin has always presented himself as, yeah, I'm the tough guy, I'm the real man.
Shirtless on a bear or a horse or whatever.
Sure,
Is he ever on a bear, or is that just an internet meme? I don't even remember.
I'm sure the bears were excited about it. A hairy gay man.
Yes, that. Okay, gotcha.
And so the fact that he is staring down this UK flautist who was leaping about on the stage.
Both of whom are probably about the same height.
I know. I know. It's interesting. It's sort of like the diametrically opposed human beings in that moment. Ian is also a tough guy.
Yeah,
in his own way, and he chooses to use his power to delight audiences and leap around with the flute. Vladimir Putin, I mean, like, what was going through that man's head watching Ian? Was there a bit of jealousy? Was there disdain?
I'm thinking probably disdain and disgust.
Was there arousal?
I don't know.
Was there a fascination?
I don't think so. I can't imagine that the level of narcissism and insanity didn't kick in until after 1992.
I think it may have been a slow build.
It's got to be deeply embedded.
I think-
the only reason it was slow is because it took him a while to get into power.
My reading of that moment is that in the madness of that person, that there was an element of recognizing the power that the flute god was wielding and feeling like, I have to be trapped. I have to wait for my moment. And wow, there's a man who's the same stature as me, got the same hair,
Wielding Flutenier.
wielding Flutenier, and people loving it.
Yeah.
I do think that all dictators, somewhere deep and down, there is a pathos that really they feel unloved or unlovable. And so to fill that void, they go for power.
It's interesting.
Mussolini was incredibly insecure as a person.
So was Hitler, wasn't he?
Incredibly insecure.
Didn't he have mommy issues?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Look at Trump. Massively insecure.
Yes.
Massively insecure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Overcompensating
Yeah.
something fierce.
Sabers rattle, pipelines tremble.
Sabers rattle, pipelines tremble.
I mean, that's both very direct references to things that have been happening in the last 6 months to a year.
Yeah, saber rattling is just a term for like threatening war, threatening violence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, wasted opportunity to build a better motherland, a nobler place in history.
Wasted opportunity to build a better motherland, a nobler place in history.
Wow. So that's the whole thing. That's Putin's whole shtick.
Right.
Is I'm going to build back the motherland.
Right, and we're going to restore us to our grandeur, so we're pulling back the places that we lost. Latvia, the Baltic region,
Crimea.
Ukraine. Yeah.
And there's a missed opportunity to actually build something really cool.
You're in such power, why not use it
to develop something?
Right. It's that mindset of violence is the answer. The more I, as Russia, possess, the better Russia is.
You know what?
It's not the people.
It's a scarcity mindset. It's saying my automatic supposition, my worldview is that I don't have enough and there's not enough to go around. And so I have to try to claw and scratch out just a little bit more for myself. I have to scratch a little bit of Ukraine to Russia because I don't have enough. Instead of saying, we are the biggest country in the entire world. We have all of this beautiful cultural tradition and value and have made all these contributions to science already. We could invest in that and really create something that contributes to the world.
No.
That's what I would do.
All right.
If I were Vladimir
You're probably about the stature of Putin. Let's get you in there and see how that goes.
Like maybe got a couple inches on me. It is fascinating to see people's choices when they get in power. And what's perceived as strength and what's perceived as weakness.
Yeah, right. Depending upon the person, the affiliation, the country, obviously. We've gone like really into the
political side, the modern side.
The Putin side specifically, you know? Like how can that, as deep as we got with Putin, can Jormungand or Thor be pulled that deeply? I think it's the idea of the violence, right? The warlike, basically the end option, the end result is going to be war.
Yes, I think that for me, this is a standout track on this album, and actually in Tull in general. Because
in recent history, for sure.
Because it is so, Ian gets very close to revealing his own position. Well, he reveals his position, which is very unusual.
Outside of the music, he has spoken up about Ukraine. He has spoken up about Putin. He said they will not do shows in Russia until things change. I mean, drop in the bucket, but you know, I mean, everyone can do what they can do, so.
And that is so unusual because as Ian has described himself, he is a professional
fence sitter.
Fence sitter.
Were you saying horse sitter?
Yeah.
He's a rodeo. He does the rodeo.
He's a rodeo clown.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so focused on the modern part of this.
Oh, it's super potent. Absolutely. I'm certainly not discounting its importance and relevance.
I think that what Ian is saying is, if you act like Thor, you're going to cause Ragnarok. And you ain't Thor, honey.
Yeah. Hit it with a big stick first and then see what happens. You know, that's what is talk softly and carry a big stick? Was that
talk tall to me and carry a big stick?
Was that Roosevelt?
That was Roosevelt.
Yeah, I mean, from every account I've heard, Putin is very soft-spoken as well. So he wields the big stick of nuclear war.
Yeah.
His Mjolnir warhead.
He's also...
Nuclear. No, it's not.
Nick, anything else we have to say on Hammer?
Just sonically, again, as per custom with this album, when we break from the poetic Edda to the modern, the sound shifts very drastically, very, very evidently.
That's a very, very good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Also, this is the first track off of this album thus far where the track does not end after those two verses of modern. He goes back and steps back into the chorus here.
It is very anomalous.
Yeah. I think maybe it's the idea that of all of the tracks we've heard thus far, this modern day portion fits so well into that past portion. It is
almost so much so that it overtakes it.
Exactly. It's the same. We're looking at the same thing as opposed to, well, this is kind of how I interpret it. No, like this is happening.
And I got something to say and I've been mad about it for...
And I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to sing Jethro Tull anymore.
I've been mad about it for 30 years.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that the name Thor is still a common name in Norway.
Yeah. It's also Thor's Day.
Yes. My buddy Bendik, his father is named Tore.
Tore,
which
so
is
he's Bendik Thorsson?
No.
Do they not do the patronymic?
No. But his last name is really cool. It means of the farm to the north where people used to live, but then the plague killed them, and so nobody lives there anymore.
What is that? Smith? What is that?
It's a Nordgard.
Oh, Nordgard, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's how that translates?
I think so.
Bit of poetic license.
Bit of a poetic Eda.
Ringed like Saturn with sacred belt.
Oh, and what are we talking about next week?
Next week, we are talking about Wolf Unchained.
Our
I'm a she-wolf in the closet. Let me out so I can breathe.
No, seriously, let me out. It's hard to breathe in here.
Until next week, if you are drowning in a world of old clothes and want to rebuild your wardrobe, why not head over to our TeePublic page where you can get branded Talk Tull to Me merch to wear until the end of days.
Rattle your sabers on Apple Podcasts. Tell everybody about the wasted opportunity of not listening to Talk Tull to Me until they do.
While you are sweating over your anvil, wouldn't it be great to have 2 extra podcasts a month to listen to?
In the video portion.
And you can get those things.
You can see us side by side.
You can
Right now.
see what I'm doing to my hair right now.
Unspeakable.
Hair Unchained. And you can get all that for either $5 a month or $15 a month on our Patreon. 15 will get you the video, 5 will get you everything else, and both of those will give you access to our Discord chat, which is really a whole world unto itself, a connection with Tull fans literally across the world. Literally.
That's right. If you had been a patron up until this point and you lived in the New England area, you probably would be meeting up with us in under a week to see a Martin Barr concert in Connecticut.
Until next week, my serpent is coiled. I am Omen Thomas Sade.
And I am the gory conclusion, Nick McGill.
The stage must be set for the feckless momes.
And this is the vulva prophecy fulfilled. Talk Tull to Me.
Welcome to Midgard Hardware. How can I help you? What are you looking for today?
I'm here for a tool, a very powerful weapon.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. What's the project that you're working on? Tell me a little bit more about it.
I'm going to smite my foes. I shall kill Jormungand.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like you want the gardening department. Let's walk over here. So,
Yeah.
yes, okay. It sounds like you've got an infestation.
Oh, he's circling the realm.
Yeah, that's how we all feel, don't we? Wow. So we definitely have this seed that already has pesticide built into it. So you'll kill that big bad worm.
It's bigger than a worm. It's a worm with a Y, W-Y-R-M, worm.
Okay, sure.
It's
yeah.
a worm.
Whoa, wow, yeah, okay, let's see. Need to cancel coming over to get the forklift for the lumber department coming in. Wow, we're so short-staffed these days. You know what? Let's actually bring you over to our tool department. Let's see.
Find me something that will do violence.
Yeah, oh boy.
Damage.
Yeah, we've got that. Let's see. This is our Milwaukee set. It's got a super fast charging. We call it our lightning battery. How does that sound to you?
I like the sound of lightning. What more can you do with lightning?
Oh, well, if you really, I don't know, get the sense that maybe money isn't an issue for you, maybe I could interest you in our 60-volt power tool set.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How many attachments?
So many.
I'm looking for something to smite very quickly and permanently.
Yes, okay. So if you wanna, smite quite a lot.
Yeah.
We can put this reciprocating saw attachment on here. Watch this. Try that out.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to put it in your mouth, but that's fine, you can.
I can see how that would do damage to a worm.
Yes, yeah. We also, you can change it into a circ saw.
Ooh. Yes. I will cut him into pieces and eat him on the grill.
Yeah. You can actually use this battery to supercharge our DeWalt grilling system. You plug it in here, it forces air through it.
So you're telling me this Milwaukee battery works with the DeWalt system?
In this fantasy I've created, it sure does.
Midgard is so exotic.
You can actually get this baby hot enough to melt steel.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I want to forge my own weapons.
Why not? Go crazy. And I have to show you this one last thing that it does.
Ooh.
Hook it up to the leaf blower. Take this other 60-watt battery, stick it in this turbocharged electric flamethrower. Put those together. Put one in one hand.
Yeah.
One in the other hand.
Oh.
And then power them both up. I'm gonna get very fired for this. I shouldn't have shown you that.
Oh, the Midgard serpent will be very fired. You see what I did there?
Yeah. And all of this can be yours for a mere $3,999. But because I don't work here, I can get you a 99% discount.
Ooh.
If you give them the code,
What is it?
a special code.
Tell me.
I will give you the secret.
Tell me. Tell it to me.
The code is Talk Tull to me as a proud member of the Feckless Moans Audio Network 99.
Hey, get out of the store! How many times have I told you? Get out! You don't work here!
Zoinks! That's my exit.